What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over UFC 303 main card recap, baby. Let's go.
What up, everybody? What's up, everybody?
Literally, I just got back from Vegas to Charlotte and then an hour and a half drive back home. It is literally 1:43 a.m. And then tomorrow, I got to get back up early because I'm going on vacay, baby. Dude, this weekend was nuts, man. All last week was crazy. Dude, I was in LA. I was in a Street Fighter video game tournament, which was dope. Met some really cool people. From there, I got to go to Netflix, had to hang out with some friends over at Netflix, and then off to UFC Vegas, where I got to hang out with fans. I went to Culture Kings, got to hang out with fans there, and of course went to the UFC Expo to hang out with some more fans. Me, Mr. T, aka Papa Rich Hand, my brother, hanging out with Rude Boy, Randy Brown. It was so dope, man. We had a great time. And of course, we were all there for UFC 303 main card. Man, a lot of crazy stuff happening at this fight card. I mean, you had like last minute replacements. You had Michelle Waterson retiring. We had crazy knockouts, and it was just awesome. And it was an unbelievable card. Even though Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler wasn't the main event, the main event was nuts. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's get into the first fight of the main card. MVP, Michael Venom Page versus Ian Gary. First round, let's get into it. Right off the bat, my man MVP throws a head kick. Ian Gary catches it, taking him down early on in that first round. Pretty much keeping my man MVP down the whole time. Ian Gary fight hard to take MVP's back. MVP trying hard to get back up. Eventually, Ian Gary ends up taking MVP's back, got the body triangle in, was fishing for rear naked chokes, and oh my gosh, I thought it was over first round. Ian Gary under the chin and everything, but just couldn't sink the choke in. MVP must have like the skinniest neck in the world because he just couldn't get it. He couldn't get it going. You can't count this guy out, man. He ends up defending against that rear naked choke, and the round was over. It was unbelievable, that first round. It had me on pins and needles. Let's get into the second round. Right off the back, MVP smokes Ian Gary with a right hand. Not really sure if it hurt him or not, but it looked like it to me. It looked like it kind of, he felt it a little bit, that's for sure. Ian Gary ends up running MVP up to the cage, and MVP showed some pretty good takedown defense there. Ian Gary couldn't lock anything in, so what it was actually kind of tricky. And I've had guys do this to me before. Ryan Hall has done this to me before, where Ian Gary pressed MVP up against the fence and kind of fell back, using his energy against him to fall on top of Ian Gary. Ian Gary trying to go for a heel hook. And of course, MVP defended that as well. My man MVP gets back up to his feet, where he loves to be, man. And he was bouncing on his toes, looking good. Hits Ian Gary with another right hand, and then round over. I think from that point on, Ian Gary definitely won the first round. I do believe MVP won that second round. Moving on to round number 3. Now, the third round was kind of back and forth right off the bat. Ian Gary goes in for a body lock, and MVP just kind of bum rushes him over to mounted position, driving Ian Gary to his back, and MVP was in mounted position. Ends up getting back up to his feet, and then actually jumping in. I don't know why he didn't let him up. I was like, please let this guy up. But he ends up in Ian Gary's guard position. Now, they stayed there for a little bit, throwing some ground and pound. At this point, it's like fairly even at this point, with MVP, I think, slightly winning up until this point with the ground and pound. Anyway, MVP gets back up to their feet. They bounce around a little bit, but then Ian Gary shoots him for a body lock, man. Ends up taking MVP's back again. No! It was kind of downhill from there, man. I mean, MVP works his way up to his feet, almost in a tripod position, and Ian Gary's winning the fight so far. I think this was their game plan, obviously to clinch. Try to time the blitz if he can, but he was definitely looking hard, working for those double legs, those body clinches, and trying to hem up MVP up against that fence. Ends up taking his back, staying in that tripod position. Ian Gary's just kind of fishing for rear naked chokes from then on out. And Ian Gary wins by unanimous decision. Smart game plan from Ian Gary. I'm sorry, MVP, you didn't get the fight, man, but we haven't seen the best of you yet, man. I cannot wait to see you back out there. And Ian Gary, 15-0, dude. The guy's undefeated. What the flip did. Moving on to fight number 2. We got Pereira Silva versus Macy Chason. Great fight. First round, I do believe Silva was winning that fight, man. Smoking Chason with a spin hook kick, hit her with a mean right hand. Second round where it gets crazy, all right? They both end up on the ground, and Pereira ends up in guard position. Chason on top, hitting with some mean ground and pound, and then smokes Macy with a sick elbow, man, right to the right eyebrow, laying that bad boy open. They go over to the doctor, and of course, it was a doctor stoppage. Too severe to the eyebrow. When that eyebrow starts hanging down over that eye, doctors are like, nah, man, we gotta stop this fight. So Macy Chason ends up winning. Second round, TKO, doctor stoppage. Moving on. Next up, we got Anthony Smith, my dude, versus Roman Delzy. Great fight for both guys, man. Delzy pulling it out, keeping this one short and sweet. My man Anthony Smith and Roman came out first round, and Roman, man, was throwing big high kicks, throwing heavy kicks to the head, and really eating up Anthony Smith's front leg with those low calf kicks, man. You could tell it definitely hurt in that first round. I mean, both guys were looking really good in that first round. Anthony Smith, I think he edged out that first round, hitting him with some jabs. He was, pinpoint accurate with his strikes, but I think Delzy was just nonstop, throwing all kinds of volume with leg kicks, blitzes. First round, I think it was fairly close. Moving to the second round, my man Roman Delzy ends up knocking Anthony Smith, knocking him off balance, not knocking him down, but knocking him off balance, and actually hit him with some ground and pound. Pretty much stayed on top of him that entire second round. Anthony Smith had a very hard time standing back up. Second round goes to my man Delzy. And in the third round, Anthony Smith, it was almost like a do or die for this guy. This guy had to knock Delzy out in order to win this fight. Definitely as the fight started moving on, he started to fatigue, and you could see it. I don't know if it was because it was so close to his previous fight, but he just didn't seem to have the pop, have the snap, leading on to that second and third, definitely the third round. But he did come out a little aggressive, which I think tired him out even more. Delzy just had his way with him, man, picking him apart, using his strikes, hitting him with those low calf kicks that really did damage to Anthony Smith. You could just see it, man. Anthony Smith was definitely tired, and Delzy just pulled out the win with a unanimous decision. Next up, co-main event of the evening. It was supposed to be Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez, but didn't happen. An hour notice. I think it was an hour or 2 hour notice. My man Dan Ige steps in on a short notice. I think he was supposed to have a fight coming up. Definitely looked in great shape. I'm glad he took it because this was one of the best fights of the night. First round, these guys came out blazing. Diego Lopez came out with some heat, man. Hit him with some ABCs and some 1-2-3s. But Dan Ige, showing his experience, kept his cover, kept his cool. His defense was on point, but he felt Diego Lopez's power. So what did he do? He shot in for the double. Immediately was in a deep guillotine. My man Dan Ige rolled out right into a Darce choke, man. Ends up finishing it out on top. Diego Lopez, first round, defending off those chokes. It was amazing, man. Man, Diego Lopez rolled right over into the second round, showing some dominance, man. Great stand-up. Ends up taking Dan Ige down to the floor and taking his back. Pretty much kept him there the whole time, but great defense and cool by Dan Ige. It was awesome, man. I love the defense. He was protecting himself, and some amazing ground and pound from the back position, bro. I didn't think you could hit somebody that hard when somebody's got your back. He literally had his head off to the side and just smoking him in the face. Reminds me of Gilbert Burns when he had my back. Moving on to the third. Third round was epic. You could tell Diego Lopez was definitely slowing down in that third round, so Dan Ige came out hot, man. Had some great boxing, hit him with some good shots. Ended up getting Diego Lopez down to the ground and finishing up in the guard. I was like, why did you jump in the guard? Make him stand back up and put this guy to sleep. But Diego Lopez ended up winning with a unanimous decision. Now, let's moving on to main event. Dope. These guys both have epic walkout songs. They get to the cage. The fight has yet to begun, but the mental game, the mental fight just started. These guys are standing across from each other, staring into each other's souls. Probably one of the most epic staring competitions in UFC history. Better yet, the world. The world was asking themselves who was going to blink first. Was Alex Pereira going to use his ninja magic against Jiri Prochazka? and they stare each other down up until that first round starts. Let's get into the first round. Well, first round was nuts, man. I don't know if Yuri Prochazka like beat himself mentally. You thinking like Alex Pereira is using his, these spirits to beat him or whatever. But I think it affected him mentally, man. He had no idea what to do. He couldn't find his rhythm. He couldn't find his strikes. Alex Pereira was smoking him with low calf kicks, body shots, and just picking Yuri Prochazka out from the outside. So Yuri was like, you know what? I'm not beating him standing up. Let me rush this guy to the cage. Let me see if I can take this dude down like he did. Now, the first fight ends up getting Alex Pereira down pretty easily. This fight, no way. Alex Pereira was definitely working on his takedown defense, and Yuri Prochazka had nothing for him. Back out to the center of the cage. I don't know if it was me, but was Yuri Prochazka keeping his hands lower than normal? I mean, with a guy with the meanest left hook in UFC history, and you're here standing in front of him with your hands down by your waist. It was crazy. Well, he ends up getting clipped with that left hook at the end of that first round. He's looking up at Alex like, come on, baby, come beat me down here. And Alex just walked off. It was crazy, man. First round was definitely Alex Pereira. Just pieced him up. Moving on to the second round, Yuri Prochazka was definitely still stunned from that left hook in the previous round, man. Right off the bat, this guy, Alex Pereira, it was one of the fastest lead leg round kicks that I've ever seen in the 205 division, man. It was so quick. He head kicked Yuri Prochazka, dropping him down low. I looked like he was about to walk off, but the referee didn't do anything. So Pereira just jumped on him, man, ground and pounding him out. As he walks off, Prochazka tries to stand up and like falls on his face, dude. Took some serious damage in that second round. Ends up winning by TKO in the second round. Man, who's gonna beat this guy? Who out there is gonna beat Alex Pereira, especially in the 205 division? People are saying that Alex Pereira should go up to heavyweight. Can he beat John Jones? Can he beat the Stipes of the heavyweight division? We don't know. But after seeing him at 185, seeing him at 205, I'm starting to think that this guy can beat the majority of the heavyweights. I would like to see that test. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see that. If you think Alex Pereira can do work in the heavyweight division, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, throw some comments down below, and of course, hit that notification button so you guys know when that next upload is. I love you. Time to go to bed. Peace.